Kennedy Japan picked the first ballot slot, followed by Mr. Alan Tremanting with the second slot.
Former Railways and Development Minister Mr. Joe Gate took the third place and Mr. Kweju Poku as the fourth. Former Minister for Agriculture Dr. Owusu Efri-Akoto picked the fifth position, with Mr. Kwabena Japan picking the sixth slot. The last four slots went to Mr. Francis Adainimo at seventh position, Dr. Kunedu Apreko at eighth, Mr. Boache Jako at the ninth place, and finally, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia picking the 10th position. The MPP will on August 26th cut down the list of its presidential aspirants from 10 to 5 as stipulated in its constitution.
Ghana's parliament on Tuesday passed the Criminal Offences Amendment Bill 2022, which seeks to abolish the death penalty. When the president assents the bill, Ghana will now join the League of Nations, which have replaced the death penalty with life imprisonment. The object of the private members' bill is to amend the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act 29 to substitute capital punishment for a life sentence and to provide for related matters. The overarching objective is to reform the criminal justice system to meet the needs of emerging society and bring it in tandem with best practices of criminal jurisprudence. The Criminal Offences Amendment Bill 2022 is being sponsored by Mr. Francis Xavier Sosu, the NDC Member of Parliament for Madina. The death penalty, also referred to as capital punishment, is state-sanctioned execution of individuals convicted for specific offences.
Is imposed after a conviction for murder, attempt to commit murder, genocide or piracy, and smuggling of gold and diamond. By Section 3043 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act 1969, Act 30, execution of the death penalty may either be by hanging or shooting by firing squad. Speaker of Parliament Mr. Alban Bagbin, who was presiding, announced that the bill has been passed after putting the question to vote. During the second reading of the bill on July 13th, Mr. Kwame Enyimedu Entry, the chairman of the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, in his report to the House, said the imposition of the death penalty as a punishment takes its root from the retributive theory of punishment. He said, upon extensive consultations, the committee was of the view that the continuous retention of the death penalty in the criminal statutes makes a mockery of justice, and the mere fact that, after almost 3 decades, Ghana's presidents found it unnecessary to sign execution warrants was an indication that Ghana does not need the law. Mr. Francis Xavier Sosu, the Member of Parliament for Madina and sponsor of the Criminal Offences Amendment Bill 2022, in his comment during the debate on the bill, said the passage of the bill was to propel Ghana towards the fulfillment of its obligations under the international treaties and conventions.
Meanwhile, the country director for Amnesty International Ghana, Madame Genevieve Patterson, has commended Ghana's lawmakers for removing the death penalty. Parliament on Tuesday, July 25, passed the Criminal Offences Amendment Act 2022, which seeks to replace the death penalty with a life sentence.
We cannot go without mentioning our partners and human rights advocates who have all worked tirelessly to ensure the passage of this bill. Looking forward, we would like to humbly appeal to the President of Ghana to sign this act into law and then commute the current death sentences into life imprisonment. We would also like to appeal to Ghana Prison Service to ensure the smooth reintegration of the death row prisoners back into the main prison system. This is a big win for human rights and a big win for Ghana. We should be proud.
When the maiden National Development Conference opened under the direction of the Church of Pentecost, the discussion was underneath to strengthen the nation's moral image. At the podium, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia encouraged Ghanaians to support this call. He said digitizing the different identification systems and institutions has reduced the high level of corruption in the country and strengthened the moral fiber of the people. The conference is ongoing at the COP Convention Center at Gumwafete in the Central Region.
The National Development Conference was organized by the Pentecost Church to discuss connectivity of the moral vision of the people to development. The three-day program was attended by the executive, legislature, judiciary, as well as traditional and political leaders. The chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Dr. Eric Nyamiche, said, "Character is key to national development, and the Church has a responsibility to set the moral standards to guide the conduct of the people."
A nation does not rise in development above the character of its citizens. We want to make an appeal here. We therefore need to have a set of moral principles that will guide the life of this nation, a socially approved and acceptable pattern and norms of proper conduct that is shared by all.
Former Presidents John Ajekun Kufuado and John Mahama said ensuring accountability and transparency is critical to good governance.
We must agree that all development can only be justified in terms of its service to better the well-being and the lot of all our citizenry, inclusively, regardless of tribe, religion, ideology, gender, wealth, or whatever.
The Church of Pentecost has set the tone, and it is my hope that our president and our leaders will take a cue to create the opportunity for cross-fertilization of ideas on vexed issues and challenges that face our country, such as our current economic crisis and important issues like the implementation of the free SHS.
The leaderships of the judiciary and legislature said politics and morality work hand in hand, and political leaders must be ready to exhibit the highest standards of morality.
It is my conviction that in our kaleidoscope of ethnicities, our belief systems, our vocations and talents, the elements of the laws of Ghana, the rules of equity, and the innate ethical values that flow from good conscience. These can surely bind our hearts and minds together and assist us to arrive at a nationally accepted vision of morality.
Effective leadership requires integrity. As leaders, particularly political leaders, we must be willing to be held accountable for our actions and inactions. We must conduct ourselves in a manner that is beyond the behavior of Pompey's wife. That is beyond reproach.
The Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said the government will continue to implement policies that will not only improve the lives of the people but also check the moral behavior of Ghanaians.
We have put in place systems that will encourage or compel morally upright behavior. It used to be possible to lie about your age. It is no longer possible now because the interactions with the various systems will reveal what is correct. And in the process, we have reduced corruption in those institutions. At the passport office, we have increased revenue from 1 million Ghana cedis a year to 64 million Ghana cedis a year.
In the next 3 days, the leaders will identify and formulate policies to improve the moral fiber of the people.
The peaceful transition of power in the Gonja Kingdom is worthy of commendation and should be replicated by other traditional areas in the country, says President Kufuado. This formal praise was when President Kufuado met with the Yagbongura and his entourage from the Gonja traditional area to the Jubilee House here in Accra.
The Yagbamwura bin Kunoto Jewu Swale's mission to the seat of government was in gratitude to President Kufuado for the support extended to the traditional area during his ensconcement. Anti-Galamsey activities on the Black Volta and the need to establish teacher training colleges in the area gained currency on the visit to the Jubilee House.
Let me commend the Minerals Commission and the security for your effective collaboration to vacate illegal miners on the Black Volta recently. Your Excellency, the development of a nation finds its premise on education. I therefore wish to crave your indulgence that the Savannah region needs 2 colleges of education. The region has a private college of education in the North Gonja district. The people of the Savannah region appeal to you to absorb it as one of the public colleges of education in Ghana.
President Kufuado said the smooth and peaceful transition of power in the Gonja traditional area reflects the commitment of the chiefs and people to the country's stability.
This is one of the great skins of our country, and I'm happy that the traditions of peaceful succession that have been laid down for ages were once again implemented during your succession. The manner in which you go about in skinning Yagbamwura in the Gonja kingdom is one which all Ghanaians, all groupings in Ghana should emulate. And I'm very happy that in your case, that peaceful succession, that tradition was once again honored. I'm very happy also with the speech and the commitment that you have made to ensuring peace and stability in the Gonja kingdom.
The new Yagbamwura bin Kunoto Jewu Swale was enskinned on March 20, 2023 as the 34th Yagbamwura at Jenge. He was born on May 16, 1954 in Chama in the Tuluwe traditional paramountcy of Gonja in the central Gonja district of the Savannah region.
The High Court hearing the case involving Dr. Stephen Opuni, Alhaji Said Wagongo and Agriculture Company Limited has adopted a record of proceedings of the previous courts in the matter. This follows a ruling by Justice Abuaji Tando for the trial to continue after examining the records and was satisfied with them. Significantly, lawyers for Dr. Stephen Opuni say they are not ready to carry on with the trial because their witness is out of the country at the moment.
They took the decision to adopt the proceedings of the previous courts and ordered the continuation of the trial by asking lawyers for Dr. Stephen Opuni to continue with further cross-examination of the 7th defense witness on Wednesday, July 26, 2023. This, however, did not go down well with them. Samuel Kujo, lawyer for the first accused, Dr. Opuni, contesting the decision of the court, raised the argument that practice demands that all parties had to agree on the proceedings to be adopted, and this is more so when the parties had expressed concerns about proceedings not being complete before the Court of Appeal. He said they were expecting the situation to be rectified by the High Court prior to making the decision to adopt the proceedings. Mr. Kujo claimed the 7th defense witness, who was in the witness stand prior to the break in the trial, was not available to continue with his testimony because they were not expecting the decision by the court immediately. He said the witness was away in England attending his son's graduation and would return sometime in August. Benson Nuchukwi, lawyer for businessman Saidu Agongo and his company Agriculture Ghana Limited, also raised questions of the court's inability to serve his clients with proceedings, although they had applied for same from the court. Principal State Attorney Stella Ohene Apia, in a counter-argument, contended that the proceedings in question is one the parties have known and worked with for about 6 years now. She said during hearing by the previous courts, proceedings regularly served on parties almost on daily basis, and so the lawyer's claims of not having the records of proceedings is incorrect. Ms. Ohene Apia also submitted that almost all of the 40 applications Dr. Stephen Opuni filed in the court of the trial had the record of proceedings attached to them. On the issue of the non-availability of the witness, the prosecutor conceded that the call for the defense witness is at a rather short notice, but added that the court cannot wait for a witness who decides to attend a son's graduation over 1 month. She consequently argued the court to allow the defense call their next witness, since Dr. Opuni is calling 9 witnesses, including himself, while between Seidu Agongo and his company Agriculture Limited, they are expected to call over 40 witnesses. Justice Abuaji Tando, after hearing the various arguments, ordered lawyers for Dr. Opuni to provide the court evidence by way of the travelling documents of the witness in question by Wednesday, July 26. On the decision to adopt the proceedings of the previous courts, Justice Tando held that his ruling was in accordance with an order by the Court of Appeal on July 3, 2023 for the High Court to adopt the proceedings.
The Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, says its attention has been drawn to the interdiction of Dr. Mrs. Shine Agatha Ofori, headmistress of West Africa SHS, for unauthorized collection of money from students. In a statement, NAT says the action taken by GES seeks to cover its own shortcomings of not addressing the numerous challenges facing the smooth running of public basic and secondary schools in the country. To the association, the interdiction of public school heads of unauthorized collection of money from students, which in many instances turns out to be false, is subjecting school heads to psychological trauma and bad reputation. NAT says it would inquire from the GES why school heads can't complain or cry out when things are not going well in their schools, and whether the PTA and Old Boys and Girls Associations can appropriately support the schools using their own resources, both in cash and in kind. NAT, in the statement, advised the school heads not to pre-finance the running of the schools with their own resources going forward, since doing so would be misinterpreted with shame and interdiction. One of the wholly Ghanaian-owned IT solution giants in Africa, Fairgreen, says consistency, perseverance and endurance have culminated in his success story in the last decade. The company's 25th anniversary launch in Accra on Wednesday was time for rousing accolades from loyal clients and well-wishers for maintaining her class in the industry.
Fairgreen's beginnings in 1998 were from a garage, and since then has provided tailor-made business intelligence and solutions to dozens of clients and potential customers over the years. Along her 25-year journey, Fairgreen still keeps over 70% of her clients, spanning both public and private sectors. Fairgreen's Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Gifty Bwahin, said the transition from one phase into a well-structured, multiple but focused organization started when Ghanaians had faith in their services.
Our corporate clients, with their strict regulations and procedures and compliance requirements, have kept us on our toes and forced us to be the very organized institutions we are and to develop structures in our business.
Ms. Bwahin said Fairgreen will reposition herself to continue to innovate, collaborate and escalate in the industry to satisfy customers. Board Chairman Mr. Kwesi Owusu-Eje emphasized that it takes perseverance and courage to drive in business. From Fairgreen clients, friends and well-wishers, the message was for the company and everyone to have a dream and to chase it. The guest speaker, Captain Retired Prince Kofi Amwaben, attested to the fact that discipline, endurance and hard work pay. He encouraged Fairgreen to maintain a culture that will catapult her far ahead into the coming decades.
Aim at providing your services on time. Where you can't, communicate the lateness. And I had a policy at UT, if you're dealing with a client, every 10 minutes, if you haven't finished serving the client, go to the client and at least make eye contact and make a sign. Then they know you're trying to do something for them. So save them time wherever you can save time and give them quality time. Quality time is just about respecting their being.
The Chief Technical Officer, Dr. Yao Fourier-J, explained the concept behind the brand Fairgreen.
In the current context, it symbolizes two things. One of the things that we want to do as a company. Number one is to ensure that we are able to sort of democratize IT and make sure that it is fairly delivered across the Ghanaian space. The other thing that the green in the Fairgreen symbolizes is that as a way of moving forward, we want to ensure that we employ green technology in everything that we do, right? So we are looking at technologies that will make sure that the environment is protected. Technologies that will make sure that we are looking at renewable energy. So these days, the data centers that we build, as much as possible, we are trying to use components that have very little impact on the environment. Our new logo, we now have a cloud on top of it, and that symbolizes where we are also going with the technology. Cloud computing is something that is now very prevalent in whatever it is that we do. If you use technologies like Spotify, your Google Workspace, Netflix, it's all cloud-based. And that is where, as a company, we are innovating and heading towards.
Fairgreen designs, implements and provides support to her customers across Africa and beyond without external interventions.
In Accra on Tuesday, the Made in Israel-Ghana Business Forum took place. It was a forum to enable the Israeli business community to engage and interact with the Ghanaian business community to create opportunities for collaboration. This will promote, enhance and facilitate trade investments between both countries.
Israel have developed strong trade relations based on cooperation, and this has led to an increase in Israel's investment in Ghana's agriculture, technology, energy and infrastructure sectors. Ghana also exports cocoa, timber, minerals and other agricultural products to Israel. The head of Israel's Economic and Trade Mission to Ghana, Mr. Yaniv Tessel, said the business forum focuses on Israel's economic, trade and business relations in Africa, with emphasis on Ghana. It also attracts several Israeli businesses in sectors such as agriculture, water, mining, clean energy and cybersecurity.
We recorded over $60 million of investment of Israeli firms in Ghana in the past 25 years. And remember, Israel is not a large foreign direct investor. Many Israeli companies are conducting projects successfully in Ghana for the past 30 years.
A Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Mr. Yao Frimpong Ado, said the initiative opens up the way for fruitful partnerships between Israeli and Ghanaian businesses.
Ghana and Israel have made commendable progress since the establishment of the Trade and Economic Section at Israel's embassy in Ghana, and in that regard, let me express appreciation for its contribution to increased people-to-people and business-to-business interactions between our two countries.
Israel's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Eli Cohen, said Ghana should be a food exporter by now because the country has what it takes to do so.
In Israel, more than 60% of our land is desert, but we make the desert blossom. Today we are able to provide all our water needs, but more than this, we are even giving water for free to our neighbors. Ghana, you have all the relevant ingredients. You have land, you have water supply, you have competitive employees and labor force. I believe in the relations between Ghana and Israel.
The Israel-Ghana Business Forum also provided a B2B platform for meetings and meaningful discussions on possible areas.
An Israeli business delegation led by its foreign minister Eli Cohen has been encouraged by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Madame Shelley Ayokobotre, to take advantage of opportunities provided by the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, and invest in Ghana. The meeting led to Accra and Jerusalem, finding other areas of bilateral cooperation.
Ghana have had long-standing relations dating back to the pre-independence era, when Ghana became the first sub-Saharan country to recognize and establish diplomatic relations with Israel, leading to the establishment of an Israeli consulate in Accra in November 1956. Since then, Ghana and Israel have had a growing bilateral relationship that has birthed the signing of a joint declaration of intent on cooperation in the field of environmental protection between the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation of Ghana and the Ministry of Environmental Protection of Israel. The agreement also led to deepened cooperation in the areas of agriculture, education, health and cybersecurity, and also supports each other's candidature for positions in international organizations. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Madam Shirley Ayoko-Botry, called for stronger economic ties in the area of trade and investment.
We're very happy that you chose Ghana. It goes a long way to indicate the strong relations that exist between our two countries. We established diplomatic relations in 1958. Since then, we have, apart from a short period, maintained very, very strong relations between our two countries.
Still at the ministry, a Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Mr. Kweku Aprechum Sapon, has received the first batch of $1 million worth of IT products from the Korean government. The items were donated to Ghana as part of preparations towards the 2023 UN Peacekeeping Ministerial Conference scheduled to take place in Ghana in December this year. The Deputy Minister said the items received will be used for their intended purpose.
When we accepted to host the UN flagship Peacekeeping Ministerial, Korea was among the first few partners to engage on the logistical demands of the conference. As we anticipated, the Republic of Korea willingly shared lessons learned from hosting the 2021 conference and without delay committed to provide some level of in-kind support for the preparation towards the event in December.
The Korean ambassador to Ghana, Jung Taek Lim, said aside the IT equipment, vehicles including 12 protocol vehicles and 10 vans are currently in transit from Korea to Ghana.
We'll step into international waters. Nigerian President Mr. Mohamed Bazoum was detained in Niamey on Wednesday by the Presidential Guard after failed talks which failed. Other key ministers were also detained. The President's office tweeted that the guards unsuccessfully tried to get support from the military in their anti-republican efforts. Despite fears of a coup attempt, no shots have been heard. Animated crowds have taken to the streets of the capital Niamey in support of President Bazoum. The African Union has condemned the soldiers' actions as unacceptable. Niger is one of the region's most unstable, experiencing 4 coups since gaining independence from France in 1960 and several unsuccessful attempted coups. Elements of the military launched a failed coup d'etat 2 days before Mr. Bazoum's inauguration in April 2021. The government is also fighting an insurgency from Islamist militants. And that's all in the news. Joining us now for some weather updates is Frederick Kujo from the Meteo Agency. Good morning, Frederick.
Good morning, Valerie.
Frederick, how are you?
Doing great, Valerie. How about you?
I'm awesome. Tell us, what should we expect by way of weather today?
A very good morning to all viewers. So for the next 24 hours, mostly cloudy weather conditions will prevail across the entire country. Some independent fog patches will also be seen over the forest and then mountainous regions to give them visibility to a range of about 3 to 8 kilometers. We advise that motorists will be cautious this morning, and there will be some misty conditions also within the marine space of our country. However, this morning through to the afternoon hours, some slight rains are expected along the coast into some areas over the forest belt. But then from late afternoon into the evening, the forest belt through to the northern sector are expected for some isolated thunderstorms and then rainfall activity. This is tomorrow morning, more cloudiness will be seen across the entire country with some pockets of slight rain over southern Ghana. Temperatures generally will range from about 21 degrees Celsius to a maximum of 33 degrees Celsius across the entire country for the next 24 hours.
Thank you, Frederick, for those updates. Have a great day. And that was our favorite guy from the Meteo Agency, Freddie Kujo, with updates for today's weather. And that's all by way of news. The show is active. Still coming up, we're going to be stepping into the VFS into the VFS kitchen, I beg your pardon, where Chef Kaf and Lady T are going to be taking us how to make that sizzling chicken sauce served with some fried rice. Also, Jay and Alan will be keeping an eye on the state of the toll road around Kaswa somewhere. We'll also be having conversation on the death penalty repeal. Have your say. You can do that via WhatsApp is 055-556-1034. Across social media, you can find us at GTV Ghana. We are very interactive. And then later on, we'll be having a conversation, story of my life, with an author, Benjamin Forcho. Kaf will be having that conversation. And so that's what to expect by way of the show today. We'll see you shortly after this break.